Good morning. I'm very honored to be here with this very academic, learned, and well-credentialed panel because I haven't had any formal post-secondary education training, but I've had a lot of experience in my days working up to becoming an economic developer and into arriving back to Alberta. I did live in Cochrane about 8 years ago for 2 years, and at that time Cochrane was very one-dimensional in my eyes. It hadn't really evolved into a diverse community. There was a fish and chip shop that a fellow from England ran, but we didn't have any, beyond your traditional Chinese restaurants, which are all over the prairies as the Chinese immigrants came across with the railroad. So every town in the prairies, particularly Saskatchewan, where I'm from, that was my previous exposure to different immigrant communities. And a lot of things have changed since those days. Now I'm working for the town of High River, which I think is the best town in the best province in the best country. I have a very good crew to work with. But the department I work in is an exposure. Since moving to Vancouver in 2000, it is the most diverse workforce I've ever been a part of. I have coworkers from the Sudan, from India, Nepal, the UK, Uganda, South America, Saskatchewan, and you're talking about a sense of place. That to me is a good illustration of sense of place. Anywhere you go, if you see a Saskatchewan license plate or a Saskatchewan Rough Rider tag, you know where those guys are from. You know where their sense of place lies. That's a big identifier. And all over the world, when I've traveled, I found other people who share that sense of place. So to arrive in a country as a worker or an employer where you have no community to give you that sense of identity, you're going to seek that out. So I work in business and tourism development. I have a great staff, and we work with a lot of established businesses, new businesses, education providers, service providers, other departments in the community. For example, we're just doing a community wellness survey, and one of the issues is around transportation and new arrivals to the community. Are you getting the right services? One of the points that was made this morning really struck home with me. We have a lot of community events. None of those events are translated on our website. So if you're a new immigrant and you have an issue with reading the English language at this point, how are you going to know that there's a massive car show taking place on Sunday? How are you going to know that there's a class that might help you as a new worker? I work with a lot of businesses who have begun to tap into this massive audience, this big market, working in close conjunction with the Cargill operations, which has a huge temporary foreign worker contingent. One of our daycares realized these are shift workers. Not everybody has a babysitter. Maybe we need to extend our hours. So they've extended the hours into the evening so that if mom or dad is working at night and the other one might be taking a language course or an upgrading course, they have a child care provision now. When I worked in Prince Rupert, because I'm one of those people who have worked all over the place, I'm kind of like the, witness protection. I worked in Prince Rupert, and they brought in a cruise ship terminal. Now, on those big cruise ships, there's a staff contingent of anything from 400 to 700 people, and primarily they were from the islands around the Philippines. Each of those islands, I didn't realize at the time, has a different dialect. They have different traditions. And when that ship would land, we had banks of telephones installed at the cruise ship terminal, not for the passengers, but for the workers. They missed hearing their family in their own language. They missed their own traditions and language. The Philippine community caught wind of this very quickly in Prince Rupert, and they started to have big food festivals. And it was a really nice way to bridge into that group. Now I could go on and on. It's not tough for me to share my story. One of the stories I'd like to talk about is with the Philippine community, which we have 25 different ethnic groups represented in High River according to that study, which I thought was very interesting that we have the highest diversity. I don't know if we really do, but that was what was represented in the report. And the Philippine community, there's a lot of temporary foreign workers with the Philippines, but a lot of permanent residents. And as a resident, if you have a community, one of the first needs you have is often is a spiritual need. And they had no church, they had no community gathering place. And so it was really interesting to work with a church group who came in who wanted to find a location to set up a church for the Philippines, the Filipinos in our community. And so we did that. And the ongoing impact on the community from a business perspective is that we have now 2 ethnic grocery stores. One is a Sari Groceries, I think is what they're called, and I can't remember what the one on 5th is called. It's a Philippine word that I can't pronounce. But I mean, it's really neat because now, not only do the Philippine community have somewhere to shop, but now when you're doing some ethnic cooking or exploring new things to do, you have a source and you have more people, which adds kind of to the overall fabric of our community. So I will not go on for half an hour, but I'm more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much.